When I was 20, I started my first ever job as an engineering intern. At first, I was super excited to apply what I'd learned in the first 3 years of my degree, but quickly I realized what the reality of the next 40 years of my life would be. Basically, that I wouldn't have the freedom to do what I want with my time. So, this kind of sparked something in me. So, I started to research and I found FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And that's when I started to take actionable steps towards retiring early and feeling hopeful for the future again. Before we go any further, my name is Kalen. On this channel, we talk about my financial freedom journey. Today, we're going to be talking about how I reached my first 100,000 net worth before I finished my undergraduate. The topics we're going to cover today are, first of all, I wanted to address that I absolutely got an enormous amount of help from my parents, which I wouldn't have been able to achieve this so quickly without their help. Next, we'll talk about the actions and sacrifices that I made, which I believe helped me towards reaching this goal. I'll go over some of the lessons that I learned during this time, and then finally, I'll give you guys some actionable tips that you can apply to help you reach your financial goals, even if you don't have the same level of support. So, the reason why I wanted to address the help that I received from my parents is because it absolutely is at least 50% of the reason for why I was able to get to 100,000 net worth before I graduated. Like the two biggest factors which my parents helped me out in are that they paid for my school. So 4 years of undergraduate, they paid for it. And then they allowed me to live at home while I was in school. To the first point, they obviously helped me tremendously and gave me a huge springboard in life by paying for my school, which was about like $40,000. They also allowed me to live at home during my school years, which really helped academically and financially. I know a lot of people aren't in the same position as I am, so I am so grateful for the help my parents gave me. Like I said, my parents' generosity is definitely like 50% of the reason why I was able to get to 100,000 before I graduated. The next 50%, I would argue, is my hard work and sacrifice and willingness to really go for this goal. The first key action and sacrifice that I made during my undergrad was working extremely hard to achieve an almost 4.0 GPA. This led me to getting scholarships which fully paid for my school. And because my parents paid for my school, uh, the $40,000 that I received in scholarships actually just went straight to me. I basically treated school as a job. I studied religiously to ensure that I would do well in my courses. And to be honest, the money wasn't even the goal. I was just kind of a perfectionist. I couldn't bear getting less than an A in my courses. Looking back, even though it was stressful, this was probably one of the most important things that I could have done as a student for the success of my financial career. It not only netted me $40,000 due to the scholarships, but it put me in an excellent position to find jobs during school and after graduation. So that leads me to my next point, which is finding a 16-month internship after my third year, which had a generous pay for a student of $75,000 per year. I was very happy with that. And so, because of my high GPA, I was able to get a lot of interviews for companies, which gave me a great chance to find a good internship. So, although at the beginning of my internship, I was excited to learn and contribute to the company and my team, that quickly faded away because of the reality of working an office job, mundane tasks, office politics, and honestly, most importantly, the loss of time freedom. So, after researching and discovering FIRE, I began to aggressively save and invest. I realized that the earlier that I start, the more that I can take advantage of compounding interest. Because I was living with my parents, I kind of made it a goal to save as much money as possible. And so I was able to save upwards of 90% of my income, which after tax was close to $52,000 per year. Now, let's talk investing. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite scary at first because I didn't know how to invest. But I did some research and I just dipped my toes in at the beginning. And quickly, that fear went away as I saw that my investments were slowly growing and also those dividend payments were coming in. And so that quickly reassured me. I also started learning about registered accounts. So we have in Canada the tax free savings account and the registered retirement savings plan, which I think in the US are equivalent to the Roth IRA and traditional IRA. So as soon as I found out about these accounts, I maxed them out. Now, one hiccup I ran into during the first 1 or 2 years of investing was the big market crash during the pandemic in March 2020. I'm going to be honest, it was scary and it hurt to see a quarter to like a half of the value of my investments disappear in like 1 month. But I had read so many articles by that point which emphasized taking advantage of these dips and buying more because the market historically always recovered. So I trusted that sentiment and put even more money in the market. And it turns out the market would have recovered in 2 months. And that's actually when I hit $100,000 in May 2020, right before I graduated. So let's talk about some of the lessons that I learned from these first 2 years of investing. From what I've experienced in my life, I have been shown again and again that hard work pays off. The only thing standing between you and your dream outcome is hard work. Like, without hard work, I probably wouldn't have received $40,000 from scholarships or found an internship which paid so generously. The second lesson that I learned is that retiring early is kind of just like a percentage game between income and expenses. So, for example, one stat that has stuck with me from the beginning is that you can retire in 10.5 years if you save 65% of your income. Doesn't matter what your income or expenses are in absolute terms. If you can save 65% of your income and the market returns 5% year after year after inflation, and you can live off 4% of your investments per year, you can retire. So I don't know about you guys, but 10 years sounds so much better than 40 years. The third lesson is that if you are in a market crash or dip, then it truly is in your best interest to save and invest as aggressively as possible because the market will inevitably recover. And if it doesn't, we most likely have bigger problems on our hands than our savings disappearing. And then finally, if you're just starting out, I think that it is in your best interest to grind out the first $100,000 as soon as you possibly can so that you can begin to have some of these compounding effects. I really tried to front end my savings for the first 2 years of having an income because I knew that compounding would have a larger effect in my future because of that hard work that I'm putting in at the beginning. And so, like, I'm now 27 and I'm definitely thanking my 20-year-old self for doing this. Okay, so now we're moving on to the actionable tips. So I hope that I can help you guys with this. The first actionable tip I have is that when I first started out, I began tracking all of my spending and income so that I could understand where my money was going. If you don't understand where your money's going, you don't know where you can improve in terms of cutting your expenses. My suggestion would be to track your spending and actually begin budgeting to cut out expenses that you know you're not getting value from. So some examples could be subscriptions you barely use, or like you might be buying too many things from Amazon, like I know I still do that sometimes. But yeah, begin tracking your spending, and as a goal, maybe reduce monthly spend by at least $100. If you haven't already, begin learning about investing. So look into ETFs and the S&P 500. I personally invest in a Vanguard ETF called VFV, which essentially invests my money in the S&P 500, which are the top 500 companies in the U.S. So investing is actually how you make sure that your money continues to grow instead of losing value because of inflation. My third actionable step is to look into and research what registered and tax advantaged accounts your country offers. These accounts are extremely helpful, especially when the time horizons for extracting the funds is more than 10 or 20 years because of the effect of compounding. And then finally, on the topic of hard work, make it a goal to work towards financial independence for at least 30 minutes every day. This can be educating yourself on FIRE, learning about investing, budgeting, or working towards starting a business. Not only will your money compound, but your efforts will also compound, which will result in a wealth of knowledge and skills, which will help you reach your monetary wealth goals faster. So that concludes the video. I know that it is scary in the beginning when you're learning about all this new stuff like investing. But if you follow those actionable tips that I gave you, you will be well on your way towards achieving your financial goals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys found some value from it. Please like and subscribe. I've included a free budget Excel template in the description if you guys join my newsletter. So yeah, see you guys in the next video.